whether the team is performing clean or unsightly. We'll cover it all here on Washington Football Nightly. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So, Washington's defense, I thought, had one of its worst performances of the season. Now, there were also bright moments, and this defense has proven throughout the season that if nothing else, they are consistent at being inconsistent. And we saw it again on Sunday. First quarter, 2 quarters and a half, this defense was up and down. At best, you could argue that they weren't really on the field. The offense did a great job of controlling time of possession. You know, there are games where this defense, their tongue is hanging onto the floor and they're gasping for air because they are constantly on the field, like the Giants game. The offense barely was on the field in the first half against the Giants 2 weeks ago. Or a week ago. This past Sunday, the defense was barely on the field. Some of it was their doing. Some of it was the doing of the offense because they were so prolific on offense and so able to extend drives that this defense didn't have to be on the field very often in the first half. But when they were so ineffective that it put them in a really tough spot. So, you know, the offense comes out, has a long drive. It doesn't result in any points. It's frustrating, but okay, fine. You don't get points. You punt the football. You pin Detroit inside their own 15-yard line. I think that drive started at their 11. And 5 plays later, they're in the end zone on a 55-yard touchdown strike from Matthew Stafford to Marvin Hall. And you're saying, well, goddamn, you know, the offense didn't score. Yeah, they didn't start as fast as you would like them to. They didn't get any points on the scoreboard, but it's still 0-0. And you have a chance to get off the field and force the Lions to punt from their own territory, deep in their own territory, and give the offense back some great field position. Fine, you failed to do that, but don't give up a touchdown. Don't give up a touchdown. And they did. And, you know, it was frustrating because the guys that we've relied on so heavily this season were the guys that were the biggest culprits on Sunday. Kendall Fuller has been the best defender on this team for much of the season, especially in the secondary. It's not even close. And at the heart of the 2 first half touchdowns was Kendall Fuller. Now, the first touchdown, Kendall just got nosy, eyes in the backfield. He needed to stay deeper than the deepest, and he got comfortable, and the guy just simply ran right by him. And as he tried to get his balance, he fell down, and that was that. Kendall just needed to stay on top of him, and he didn't. And he's done a good job of doing that this year. He just didn't do it on that play for whatever reason. Then the second touchdown, we talked about this versus the Giants. We watched film, and I talked about inverse cover 2 and how the Giants ran it against us twice in the game. The first time they ran it, we had an opportunity to make a big play. We didn't. The second time they ran it, they got the interception, the last interception, the third of the 3 interceptions off of Alex Smith with safety Logan Ryan coming down and making the play. So we tried to run something similar where you take your corner, he shifts to safety, you bring the other corner that's in the slot outside, and it's a lot of moving parts, and then the other safety comes down and he's sort of a robber. And so we tried to get cute, and Kendall Fuller didn't get back there in enough time, and the corner didn't get out there at all, and next thing you know, you got a big-time receiver in Marvin Jones running by himself, unabated, can't get over there in time, touchdown. So at the end of the day, when you look at how they were able to score in the first half, it's disappointing because it was big plays. And one of the biggest things that we said going into the game was, I had to make sure we were on, it is don't give up big plays. Don't give up big plays. And we did. We gave up big plays again. And at some point, that becomes nauseating. It becomes to the point where you're like, did we just do this again? We've been giving up big plays all season long. This defense isn't terrible. And I know some of you don't want to hear this because it's a result-driven league. And really, life is all about results. You know, the journey is great. It really is. But at the end of the day, how did you get it done? Were you able to get it done? This defense, it isn't pretty a lot of times with this defense. Even when we get off the field on third downs, it usually isn't pretty. Maybe it's a mistake made by the opposition. They had an opportunity. The Lions had opportunities to convert these third downs. They just messed it up for whatever reason. And then there are opportunities, where, we make a play to get off the field. But at the end of the day, we started slow again defensively, gave up points. You get to the second half, and I'm not going to lie to you. At 24-3, after that first possession of the third quarter, where the defense allows Matthew Stafford and that offense to move it right down the field on the opening possession of the third quarter and get into the end zone on a touchdown to their rookie, Swift, who killed us in the game, I thought the game was over. And I thought this was heading towards the path of a 31-10 ass thrashing and the beginning of the end of the 2020 season in terms of the team beginning to show signs of quitting on Ron Rivera. That's what I thought this game was showing me. Like, we haven't seen one of these this year. Maybe this is the beginning of the end of 2020 in terms of the team competing at a high level. Because we haven't seen a game in which this team hasn't fought to the end. Even when we were down 20-0 at halftime of Arizona, we came back and almost cut that to a one-score lead in that game. We never got the football with a chance to tie it, but we cut it to a one-score lead, and then Arizona got the football and extended it back out to 2 scores. But we were down 20-0, and we fought scratch-clawed to get back in that game. Even the Ravens game, we never felt like we had a chance of winning, but we were never, ever really, blown out. Same thing, even though, the Rams game was another one of those games. We lost by 20, 30-10. It felt like, man, first of all, the second half offensively was some of the worst football I've ever seen in my life, offensively. There was nothing we could do right in that game. But still, remember, that game was 20-10 for the longest time. We were right there. Our offense was just anemic. The defense hung in there after one of the worst halves of football they played all season. They hung in there. And then it wasn't until late that thing got away and got to 30-10. We fought every single game. I thought this was the first one that we weren't going to fight. And then something happened. Offense got the football, moved it down the field, scored a touchdown. And I'm saying to myself, well, it doesn't matter because the defense can't get a stop. Well, they get a 3 and out. I said, this is the biggest possession of the game. You want to start trying to mount some momentum? We need to stop. What did the defense do? They went out and got a stop. I said, okay, offense, they gave you a shot. What did the offense do? Take the football, race down the field, get in the end zone. Okay, down by 1 score. Defense, I'm sorry. I know this is a tough ask, but we need another stop. 3 and out. We can't allow Detroit to wrestle away any of the momentum by picking up 2 first downs, eating up some of this clock, and then giving us back the football with 6 minutes left. With 5 minutes left. Get us the ball back now. Defense said, we got you. Got us the football back. 3 and out again. Offense went down the field, scored, tied the game up. I said, all right, defense, I know I'm asking a lot, and this is where the problem lies with this defense. I know I'm asking this a lot of you, defense. We need it one more time. Can you get us one more stop? They said, no can do. All right, no can do. And they let Matthew Stafford and company bleed off 3 minutes of the clock, score a field goal, and give it back to us with 2 minutes and 33 seconds. Now, it was plenty of time for us to go and get a touchdown and win the game. And we had opportunities offensively. But we tied the game up at 27. I'm excited. I'm thinking we're going to overtime. But then, right as we're kicking off, I made sure I sent out a message to the community on Flick. MOBB stand up. We in the building. I said, hey, guys, just so you know, it's 20 seconds left, roughly. 3 timeouts for Matthew Stafford. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. I left that there for them. I'd seen this movie before. So I said, I'm just leaving this here for you. I hope this doesn't come into play. But if anybody's capable in this league of taking their team down the field and putting them in a position to kick a game-winning field goal, it's Matthew Stafford. He's one of the best in the business with limited time left on the clock to get his team into a position to win a game. He did it to Atlanta earlier this season. He's done it to us before, back in 2016. So we know he's capable. And oh, by the way, they got a kicker with a massive leg, and it's indoors, so he doesn't need a ton of yardage. You kick this thing off, they started at 25. Essentially, all they need is 30 yards, and they're in a position to attempt a field goal. That's it. They just need to get the ball to their 45. They're comfortable kicking a 63-yard field goal with Matt Prater. And that kick, just so you know, it would have been good from 63. It was a knuckler. It hit the net. The net is essentially 4 yards behind the goalpost. So that thing hit the net with a little bit of height. That was probably good for like 65. So whether the defense was up or not, he probably would have nailed the field goal anyway. But there's a certain psyche that goes into, hey, this is 63 versus, hey, it's 59. You're still kicking the shit out of the ball regardless. But I would have much rather had the defense come up. And to me, the biggest travesty of the entire day wasn't the Kendall Fuller 55-yard touchdown he gave up. It wasn't the inverse cover 2 that they didn't play correctly and gave up the touchdown in the first half to make it 14-3. It was the playing off at the end, because that's just not smart football. That's not situational awareness. We kill Isaiah Wright and some of the young players on this team for the lack of situational awareness, not getting out of bounds, not doing, J.D. McKissick did it too earlier in the season, not getting out of bounds when you need to get out of bounds. I put that on the coaching staff. I put that in the lap of Jack Del Rio. You've got to make sure you communicate to your guys, hey, we can't give up anything here. This was one of those situations where Stafford was either going to quickly complete a pass or he's going to throw it away. But he wasn't going to stand there and wait for somebody to get open because they didn't have time to do that. So it was one of two things. Either it's there immediately, throw it, get down, or throw it away. If you just come up and delete the airspace, he's going to throw it away because he wants to at least get an opportunity to attempt a field goal. They were going to trot Matt Prater out there regardless if they picked up another yard or not. They were going to, because what's the harm in trotting your kicker out there and attempting a 66-yard field goal? He makes it, you win, NFL record. You miss, you go to overtime. Who gives a shit? So whether they picked up another yard or not, he was probably going to attempt a damn field goal. The problem was you made it too goddamn easy for them to pick up 9 yards and then kick the field goal. Make them attempt the longest field goal in NFL history, or let Matthew Stafford throw a Hail Mary. One or the other. I'll take my chances with that. What you can't do is play 10 yards off at the sticks as if it's 4th and 10, and if they don't convert, we win. That's the dumbest thing I've seen. And the coaching staff, look, players sometimes don't understand the moment. You can't trust a player to just understand, hey, situational awareness. It's on the coaches to make sure, hey, guys, this is the situation. They got all 3 of their timeouts. Time is not an issue for the Lions here. I don't know if they had all 3 or not, whether they had 2. They had timeouts. It doesn't matter. Time is not an issue from a timeout standpoint. So you letting them, I heard somebody say, well, Louie, you left out a big thing. Why did they touch him? The time would have ran out. He's giving himself up. If he's on the ground, he's giving himself up. You don't have to touch him. They're calling timeout. The play's dead. Once he gives himself up, the play's dead. The referees understand the situation. They're not going to let the time just run out. This isn't like a ball on the ground that you punt and you're keeping everybody away from it so that the time can continue to run until a referee runs in and blows the whistles and says, okay, ball's been downed. No one's going to touch it. We're not going to let any more time run off. This isn't one of those situations. Guy catches a football. He's on the ground. Play's dead. He's giving himself up. They're screaming timeout, timeout. The officials are going to give him the timeout. So you can't allow them the freedom with ease to run up 8 yards, catch a football, get down. It's too easy. That was the biggest mistake of the game, by far and away. Because even with the mistakes made in the first half, we would have had a chance to go to overtime and win the game. And honestly, I felt like all the momentum was in our favor at that point. They hadn't stopped us the entire second half. Think about that. We had 4 possessions in the second half offensively. 4. Touchdown, 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 field goal. They hadn't stopped us. All the momentum was in our favor. Well, we didn't get a chance to see if we could continue to move the football on this defense and make one of the biggest comebacks in Washington history come true. And that's a shame that we gave it up in the fashion that we did. You know, the Chase Young penalty, the completion at the end. It's bad defense. It's bad football. But that's what bad teams do. We're 2-7. And you understand that when you see some of the things that we do in the course of a game. And that's not just defensively, it's offensively too. And I've talked about that. This defense, this is the game defensively that I'm a little hypercritical of the entire unit, because honestly, nobody really stepped up in this game. Not a single person outside, as I mentioned, Ronald Darby was the one guy that I looked at in this game and I said, this might have been the one game that I look at Darby and I say, you were the best defender on the field. He tackled well. He didn't give up a lot on his side of the field. A lot of the big plays on Kendall Fuller's side of the field. When you think about the game and where all the big plays came from, it was on the left side of the formation. Right side of the defense, which is Kendall Fuller's side. Left side of the offense, Kendall Fuller's side. So not a lot of action on the right side of the field where Darby is. And when there was action over there, he took care of business for the most part. Thought Darby had a strong game. Outside of Ronald Darby, I thought there were defensive breakdowns everywhere. I did not think there was enough pressure on Matthew Stafford. Some of that falls in the lap of Jack Del Rio. I did not think this was one of his better called games defensively. I didn't like some of the situational blitzes. And at this point, certain things that you're doing aren't working. You know they're going to double play. And another steady diet of double teams for Chase Young. And when he got one-on-ones, he didn't win. And we talked about that already. And Chase understands that. Look, I'm going to get double teamed. That's just the nature of the business. That's who I am. Teams recognize that's what I am as a defender. So they're not going to let me wreck shop. Where was Montez Sweat in this game? Where was Jonathan Allen in this game? Where was Daron Payne in this game? Where was Ryan Kerrigan in this game? Somebody has to step up. Tim Settle, anybody has to step up. Nobody stepped up and made a play in this game. We were waiting for somebody to step up and make a play. I don't think there was ever a situation where we even came close to forcing a turnover in this game. Not oh man, we almost picked off Matthew Stafford, or man, almost forced a fumble there. It didn't occur in this game. We weren't even close. We sacked him one time. Almost gave that up with the stupid hands to the face penalty on Chase Young. The officials smartly picked that one up. I did not think that needed to be called. It was incidental contact. He didn't yank his face mask. He touched it. He made contact with it, but he didn't pull it. So they picked up the flag, and that was on a blitz. We sacked him again, but that one didn't count because they called roughing the passer on, and it was the right call on KPL. But outside of those two pressures, and those were blitzes, when we just rushed 4, it ain't hitting. At this point, if you're Jack Del Rio, you got to start mixing it up, man. Like, when is it time to start reducing the splits and kicking guys inside? Chase Young inside, Kerrigan outside. When are we going to start seeing some stunts and some twists, some creativeness with these guys? I want to see them take Chase Young and move him around like Jadeveon Clowney. Have him walking around the line so they can't figure out, hey, where's this guy going to be? How are we going to account a double team for him? Now you can't. Overload a side with Chase Young. Take a side of the field. Put Sweat at defensive end. Put Kerrigan inside. Have a linebacker rush as a blitzer off the edge or inside, and then have Chase Young blitzing from that same side. and drop out your defensive tackle on the opposite side and overload the side and have Chase Young be one-on-one. There are ways that you can scheme up to get Chase Young free. We're just so vanilla right now. Hey, Chase, go get him off the edge. Just moving him from left to right isn't enough. Because guess what? If we come out and we think he's going to be on the left side of the formation and you just move him to the right side, guess what we can do pre-snap? Take my 2 tight ends and tell them to get their asses up and run to the other side of the formation. We thought the right side was going to be the strong side of the formation. Now guess what? Chase Young lined it up on the left side. So now we're going to take our 2 tight ends from the right side of the formation and run them over to the left side. And now that's the strong side of the formation now. And we're going to block Chase Young with 2 tight ends. You can't run. You have to scheme it up. Jack's got to get a little bit more creative. And Jack's done a pretty good job. And again, for as slow as of a starting team as we've been defensively, and that's been the theme all year long, we find a way in the third quarter for whatever reason. I can't figure this out for the life of me. But we come out in the third quarter and we're a different team, whether it's we get breaks or the team stops doing some of the things that were successful in the first half. I don't know what it is. I don't care what it is. We need to bottle that up and start it in the first half and do it for the entire game. I don't know if that's going to happen this year or not. But I do know one thing. At some point in the game, the defense is going to step up and get stops and give us a chance. It just happens to be the third quarter of just about every game. And by the time they start doing that, unfortunately, one of these games, the offense too, we can sit here and kill the defense all we want. At some point, the offense has to engage in a shootout with the opposition if the defense is going to do this. You know what would be great? Is if the defense is struggling in the first half, the offense picks it up, and instead of trailing 17-3 at halftime, it's 17-17 at halftime. Then if the defense decides to do that third quarter shit that they always do, instead of us digging ourselves out of a 14 or 17 or 20-point hole, it's an even money game, and now you can start to take a lead. How about that? What a concept. How about instead of being down by 14 at halftime, you're down by 4, 17-13, because you scored points on offense. Be nice if your field goal kicker didn't miss, but score touchdowns. Don't let this guy be a factor. Score touchdowns. It was crazy. I was watching the game. I can't remember what game I was watching. I think it was Minnesota. That's who it was. Minnesota on Monday night. And they said, hey, Minnesota's been so good on offense, their field goal kicker hasn't had to attempt a field goal in the last 3 weeks. Well, damn. That must be nice. Take his ass out of the game. Just kick extra points when we score touchdowns. Must be nice. I'd like to do that. I don't think we're capable of doing that right now, but I'd like to do that. But at the end of the day, much like I said about the offense, I feel the same way about the defense after this game. They made mistakes, costly mistakes. They gave us a chance to win the game. It was, in terms of the defense, if they don't get the stops in the third quarter into the fourth quarter, we don't have a chance to come back. Say what you want about this defense and talk about the defensive breakdowns and the big plays and Chase Young penalty at the end and playing off on the last offensive snap. Yeah, all of those things took place. Without the defense stepping up in the third quarter after giving up the touchdown to make it 24-3, without the defense on 3 straight possessions getting 3 and outs, we don't have a chance to come back, tie this game, and have a chance to win. So for as bad as the defense was at times in this game, they were also lights out and gave us a chance. If the offense scores a touchdown on that final possession instead of settling for a field goal, maybe the outcome's different. But they gave us a chance. It'd be nice if we got an even better chance with a faster start. That's kind of where I am with the defense right now. And that's what the performance was. I wasn't really that pleased with anybody's performance in this game. I wasn't. Outside of Ronald Darby, I thought the defense, from an individual standpoint, was one of the more disappointing efforts. As a collective group, it's pretty much what we've seen this season. Struggle early, turn it up at halftime, third quarter lights out, fourth quarter, mixed bag. Because in games this season, like Cleveland, for instance, lights out third quarter, awful fourth quarter. Some of that, the fault of the offense, but the defense didn't do their part. They had a 3rd and 13. They give up a 15-yard gain to Odell Beckham Jr. Similar to the way the Lions gave it up to us on a 4th and 13 right over the middle of the field. You just let a guy run right in the middle of your zone, sit down, and let the quarterback throw it to him. We did the same thing against Cleveland when we had all the momentum, 20-17. So it's a mixed bag in the fourth quarter, but they got stops in the fourth quarter. But when we needed that last stop, tied at 24, one more stop, defense. I guarantee you give us one more chance, we're going to win this game. They couldn't get the stop. They gave up a field goal. Let's get to some of these super chats. Got a couple super chats in here. I'm going to knock these out real quick. Got a super chat here from Alec Meehan. Thank you for the super chat, Alec. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, I miss Matt Ioannidis. So do I. I think you're pretty much echoing the sentiments of just about every Washington fan out there. I don't think most people understood the impact. And I kept bitching about it when he got hurt. And I know some of you were like, hey, Louie T, come off of it. We still got Allen. We got Payne. We'll be fine. Tim Settle's going to get a bigger role. Like, how big of a deal is it, really? You're seeing it now, if you didn't understand it then. And most of you, I think, you were smart enough to understand what Matt Ioannidis brought to the table, because he was unique in the sense that of all the interior defensive tackles that we have, he was the true pass rushing menace of the group. The one guy that you say in a one-on-one situation, good luck, you're going to need it because Matt's kicking some ass one-on-one. And, it's crazy. The play that he got hurt on, he got hurt almost forcing a fumble of Baker Mayfield on his pressure. Like, that's Matt Ioannidis in a nutshell. Just a disruptor, a havoc wreaker in passing situations. He was going to be the best friend of Chase Young. Now you don't have that, so there's no interior rush. And what you're noticing a lot of teams doing is they're double teaming Payne. If they're choosing to double team someone in the pass game, it's Young and it's Payne, and then they're just singling up Montez Sweat or Kerrigan or Ryan Anderson out on the edge, and they're singling up Jonathan Allen, and they're saying, we dare one of y'all to beat us. Sweat's won his fair share. Kerrigan's won his fair share. But it's not enough. It's not consistent enough, I should say. So therein lies the problem. And you got to get a little bit more creative if you're Jack Del Rio. But, yeah, I miss Matt Ioannidis as well. I think this defense sorely misses him, for sure. Thank you for the super chat, Alec Meehan. I got one here from King of the North. Thank you for the super chat, King of the North. Greatly appreciate you. King of the North writes, your gut feeling, do you think Alex will improve this week and keep playing well the rest of the year, or does he regress to the 2018 Alex eventually? That's a great question, because I don't know if my eyes still believes what it's seeing. Like, my mind is like, yo, this is really happening. My eyes are like, I think it's the other way around. My eyes are like, whoa, did you just see that? And my mind's like, yeah, but it's Alex Smith. Like, he's not going to keep this up. It's Alex Smith. And I'm like, I know, but did you see this? The man was in fuego. Against the Giants in the second half. Against the Lions in the second. Well, you know what? That's a misnomer. Because to sit here and act as if the offense wasn't rolling in the first half would be a disservice to this offense. They were moving the football in the first half of this game. That's the reason they dominated time of possession. It's the reason the defense wasn't on the field very often. It's the reason they rolled up all those yards in the first half. They just didn't have anything to show for it because they didn't take advantage of opportunities when they got down there. But they were moving the football constantly in the first half. So to say that it was just the second half, I thought he was a little bit more judicious in the way he spread the football around, because in the first half, it looked like it was going to be it was funny. Somebody said, J.D. McKissick is having a Roy Halou-ish type of game. And I said, oh, hell. And it was so funny because, again, I think J.D. McKissick in the first half had something like 9 or 10 targets. He ended up with 15 for the game. So he was on pace for one of those Roy Halou type games early on. But as the second half hit, Alex started to spread the football around, and we started to get more Steven Sims Jr. back in the mix. We saw Isaiah Wright touch it a bunch of times. Logan Thomas became a bigger fixture in the second half. They still found ways to get Terry involved. Cam Sims became a massive part of the offense in the second half. So guys started to touch the football. They started to spread it around a little bit more in the second half. That wasn't the case in the first half. But we were still moving the ball in the first half. So my eyes, it sees it, and I'm still kind of like, wow, this is not what I was expecting. My mind is like, bro, don't think that this is going to continue. And I'm saying to myself, why not? Why the hell not? I think Alex is comfortable in this offense. If we can protect him, that's the biggest thing. If we can protect Alex, I think he can do it. My gut tells me no, it's not going to continue. You asked the question, I'm going to give you an answer. My gut tells me no, it's not going to continue. My head, however, says, why the hell not? My gut is like, nah, this is an aberration. It won't continue. My head is saying, I know what I'm seeing right now. This is sustainable. We can keep doing this. We just got to score points. So I'm leaning, and again, this is a big week. Even though the Bengals defensively aren't great, they're not world beaters by any stretch of the imagination. It's about consistency. If they go out and have another big offensive day, yardage-wise, and this time it converts to points, I think it's time we stop looking at Alex Smith like the 2018 Alex Smith and understand that maybe 2018 Alex Smith had an issue with Jay Gruden's offense. Maybe that was the issue. Maybe it wasn't Alex Smith. Maybe this is a perfect fit. And look at Ryan Tannehill. I hate to keep bringing him up, and y'all kill me when I bring up Ryan Tannehill. And I love to bring him up because he was one of those guys that I looked at and said, he's a middle-of-the-road quarterback at best. You're not going to win anything of note with Ryan Tannehill. And then he gets in the perfect system for him, and is surrounded by weapons that fit him to a T, and look at what he's doing. Maybe this is the perfect offense for Alex Smith. Just maybe. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Thank you for the super chat. King of the North. Just Andre. Thank you for the super chat. Just Andre. Greatly appreciate you. Just Andre writes, you think Bryce can become the best running back on the team? Bryce has to get healthy first. They asked Ron Rivera about Bryce Love today and where he was, because remember, he practiced last week on Wednesday, and then we didn't see him for the rest of the week. We didn't see him on Thursday. We didn't see him on Friday. He didn't practice again today, and they said, yeah, look, we're going to take it slowly with him. He had some soreness when he practiced. So at this point, we just like, hey, bro, just get healthy, man. I'm almost at the point now where I'm like, hey, Bryce, I'm going to see you in 2021, bro. Don't even worry about it. This almost feels like another lost year for Bryce Love. And I'm at the point now where I'm like, just get as healthy as you possibly can, because if you can't stay healthy next year, I got to go. I can't keep waiting on you to get your shit together. And some guys, they get hurt and they just never get right. And he could be one of those dudes. I'm not ready to give up on him. I just want him healthy. I don't want to keep yo-yoing, hey, he's out there, then he's hurt, then he's out there, then he's hurt. Let's let him heal up, and let's see what we got. If it happens this year, great. I'd love to get a glimpse of what our running back situation could be. But I don't want them to not draft a running back based off of, hey, we waiting on Bryce Love. Don't do that. If you like a guy in the draft and he's sitting there, you take him. Do we need a running back? No, not necessarily. If you love this guy and he's sitting there and he can fill a void for this team, you take him. That's how I feel right now. I can tell you this much. Bryce Love could become the best in between the tackles running back on this team if he gets healthy. I don't know if he becomes the best running back on this team. He could be. I mean, natural skill ability. This guy was going to be a first-round pick had he come out the year after McCaffrey. That year where he ran for damn near 2,000 yards. He might have run for 2,000 yards at Stanford. If he'd have come out that year instead of going back to school, he'd have been a first-round pick. No back on our team was a first-round pick or ever thought to be a first-round pick. So right then and there, that tells you he could come in and potentially be the best running back on the team. Absolutely. But he got to stay healthy first. That's the first thing. The best ability is availability. Got to be healthy first. Thank you for the super chat, Just Andre. Del Monte Corbett, thank you for the super chat. Del Monte, greatly appreciate you. Del Monte writes, do you think we go linebacker high in the draft? Depends. You got to evaluate the entire position of linebacker, because I think linebacker is going to be a very high position on the need category and list for this team. I do expect them to go aggressively after a linebacker, whether it be in free agency or in the draft. I think linebacker is going to be very high on their priority list this offseason. They're not happy with the play they're getting out of their linebackers. I know for a fact Rivera is not. You know that for a fact. He's told us this on numerous occasions. He's not happy, nor should he be. Now, this is the way I look at it, and I think the Carolina Panthers took the right approach last year. And this is the approach I think Washington, honestly, is going to take with wherever they land in the draft this year, when the dust settles and smoke clears. Carolina said last year, we could take Isaiah Simmons at 7, or we could take Derek Brown at 7. That's the option that they were weighing at 7. Isaiah Simmons, jack of all trades, Swiss Army knife. In today's NFL, he's the perfect fit. Can play a little safety, play some backer inside, can run with guys down the field, can blitz him, can do everything. We could take him here and let Derek Brown go. Or we can take Derek Brown because we can't find another Derek Brown. There isn't another Derek Brown at 37 when we pick again, at 39 when we're on the clock again in the second round. There isn't another one of those. I can find me an Isaiah Simmons light. His name's Jeremy Chin. That's who they drafted in the second round. I can find an Isaiah Simmons clone. May not be the exact same thing. Might be some Gemini Man type of stuff, but hey, I can find a guy that can get the job done and look similar to him. Run fast, big, can play safety, can play some backer, can play some corner, can do a lot of things. Can't find another Derek Brown. Can't find another havoc-wreaking interior defensive lineman, plug up the middle, put a little bit of pressure, collapse the pocket. That guy's not in the second round. Not at that position. For Washington, it's simple. Do you look at linebacker and say, hey, we need quarterback. That's a fact. Are there quarterbacks that'll be around that we like in the second round? Are there linebackers that we like that'll be around in the second round? Or is this guy that's sitting here a one of a kind? You can't get him in the second round or the third round. He won't be around. Another guy with a similar skill set won't be available. Do you have to take Michael Parsons now? Or can we wait and get a watered down version, a great value version of Michael Parsons or some other backer? It doesn't have to necessarily be Michael Parsons, or esque. It could be just a guy that they really like and say, hey, this guy can do just as good a job in this system as anybody else we draft. We feel like we can plug a guy in here with some capability, and we can get some good play out of him. But we got to take the quarterback now because the guys that we like in the second round aren't even close to the guy that we'll be getting here. Talent and skill-wise and upside-wise. So that's really what it boils down to is, can we find a guy in the second round, third round that's comparable that we really like? Let's say at the linebacker position, you got a 95 grade on Micah Parsons. Let's say that's his grade. Let's say you've got 3 other linebackers that you've got a second round grade on that are 91, 90, and 88. And you'd be perfectly fine with getting any of those guys in the second round. Perfectly fine. But you got a 95 grade on this quarterback here that you can take. And all the quarterbacks that will be left by the time you pick again in the second round are 79 and lower. The gap between the quarterback that you have on the board that you can take here and the ones that will be available in the second round, third round, is much bigger than that of linebackers, so you take the quarterback. So you see where I'm going with that? Now, if the quarterback here, all the guys that you really like are gone. Let's say that you were really high on Justin Fields, you were really high on Trey Lance, and both of those guys are gone. And the next guy on the board is Zach Wilson. He's still around. And you like Zach Wilson. You don't love him. Let's say your grade on Zach Wilson's at 89. And let's say the next quarterback in the draft, and let's just look, this is not how the draft is going to play. And this isn't how I feel about these quarterbacks. But let's just for the purposes of this discussion, let's just say that Kyle Trask on your draft board is an 85. And he's going to be sitting there for you in the second round. That's probably not how this is going to play out. Or let's say, because Kyle Trask is probably going to go in the first round. Let's take the Georgia kid. All right. Jamie Newman. Let's say you got an 89 grade on Zach Wilson. You got an 85 grade on Jamie Newman. Second round pick. You take Jamie Newman in the second round. You say, hey, what we see here at quarterback and what we could get in the second round is pretty comparable from a grade standpoint. We like them both, but there's not a big difference grade-wise, whereas at linebacker, where we are, if we don't take this guy here, there's a massive drop-off to the next guy that we're going to get. Let's say that the guy that's available here at linebacker is a 91. It isn't Michael Parsons. He's gone already. But let's say it's another guy here from Alabama that you really like. 91 grade on him. The next linebacker that you feel like you'll be in a position to take is a 78. You got to take the linebacker. You can pull the trigger on Jamie Newman in the second round. Not much of a difference there. But you got to get the linebacker now because there's a big drop-off for you on your board at that position. So you take the backer here, you get the quarterback in the second round. You see how that works? That's what Carolina did. They said, can we get another Derek Brown in the second round? The answer was no. We can get another Isaiah Simmons and Jeremy Chin. We can't get another Derek Brown. So they took Brown and they rolled the dice and they were right. Jeremy Chin was there for him in the second round. They pulled the trigger. Thank you for the super chat, Del Monte Corbett. Got another super chat from King of the North. Double up. Let me say this, King of the North. We've been real friendly over this whole year. You're one of my guys. It's war, bruh. You just went 11-3. No, I think you went 12-2 this week in winners and losers. Bro, it's on. All right? Just so you know, it's on. You just caught up with me. You got 102. I got 102. It's on. I just need you to know that. The competitive juices are flowing now. We start to get down home stretch. I'm here. I'm watching your ass. Just so you know. Okay. I just had to get it out from my chest. Thank you for doubling up, King of the North, who writes, this Cincy game feels like a shootout to me. I'm thinking 33-30 or something crazy. How different a team we are now compared to the first couple of weeks. I don't think you're wrong there. I feel like this is a shootout game. I don't think either one of these teams defensively are scared of the other team. Offense or either one of these teams offensively are scared of the other team's defense. Nor should they be. And I still am a little apprehensive to go to the 30 mark with this offense because we haven't gotten there yet. Until we actually break that seal and get to 30 points this season offensively, it's hard for me to predict that. I have to see it first. I'm comfortable with 27. I'll go to 27. We've been there a couple of times. So I'll go 27. I think this is a 30-27 game, just like this Detroit game was. But yeah, it wouldn't shock me if this is a 36-30 game, a 33-30 game, just like you said. Like, I could see neither one of these defenses having a good day. I could see both of these offenses being dynamic and scoring points. And I could see this thing turning into a shootout with the team that has the ball last winning the game. I could see that. Absolutely. You're also right with the second half of your statement where you say, crazy how different a team we are now compared to the first couple of weeks. It's light years difference because of the way we view this offense now. Like, you're actually getting to see Scott Turner's offense the way that he wants to call it. I think he would like to still be a little bit more balanced. I listened to his presser today, and he still sounds like a guy that wants to, be a little bit more balanced. But the circumstances of the game has dictated that, being balanced might not be the best thing in the world. But also, let's be honest with ourselves. The passing game is working, and he understands that. And I think there are times, like when we got the football back, down 24-17, there was 8 minutes and 54 seconds left, something like that, left on the clock. There's plenty of time to still run the ball if you wanted to run it. You didn't have to. He was like, to hell with that shit. He would take J.D. McKissick or Gibson, and he would motion them out. Alex Smith would say, all right, go. Motion them out, empty sets. And we throwing the ball around the park, man. They can't stop us. It was the same thing we said against the Giants. Why even attempt to run it when they can't stop the pass? Alex was carving them up. And I thought it was a great point made by, I think it was John Keim, and Scott Taylor kind of ran with that. And they I think it was Keim that said, is this short passing game an extension of your run game? And he said, yeah, there's a lot of short passes in this offense. Swings out of the backfield to the running back, these swing screens to Isaiah Wright. We've got plays now built in that look like Seattle, and I've broken this down on film, where a guy doesn't really move off the line of scrimmage. He's just standing there. And if all else fails, you just check it down to the receiver that's standing right there at the line of scrimmage, and he'll run for 6. That's as good as a 6-yard run. There's no difference. It's a high percentage pass. You know you're going to get a positive gain. You don't know that you're going to get a positive gain when we hand the football off. There's no guarantees. Shit. In this game, there were a couple of losses, when we decided to toss the ball or run a reverse or what may have you. At least when we throw the ball, a lot of times it's a positive gain. It rarely are we throwing the football and it's a tackle for loss. I think we could be a little bit more aggressive with the screen game too, offensively. But it's amazing how this offense, and we said this before the season. That's the crazy part is, we said this before the season started, that this offense was going to start slow, and that we would see this offense hit an uptick as they got more comfortable, with Scott Turner and what he was looking for, and Turner got more comfortable with them, and everything started to become second nature. There was less thinking. Guys didn't have to worry about where to line up. They didn't have to worry about, the depth of a route. They could just go out and play. And I said, as we get deeper into the season, back half of it, you're going to start to see this team become more comfortable offensively. Is that not what we're seeing? So, I think there's a lot of that to it. And, yeah, I could see this week being a shootout for sure. I'm with you. Thank you for the super chat and doubling up, King of the North. Got a super chat here from my man JP. Thank you for the super chat, John Perez. Greatly appreciate you. My man JP writes, we badly need to fix this linebacker core. I've mentioned Michael Parsons for months with our first round draft selection, but Jamar Chase will be on the board as well. I've given that some thought lately. Like, what would this offense look like if you've got Terry on one side and Jamar Chase on the other side? Like, think about this. How many assets can you possibly invest into your defense before you start to say, okay, enough's enough with that? Let's start pouring some resources into this offense. We don't have any first-round picks on the offense. Everything first-round related right now is on the defensive side of the football. At what point do you say, hey, with the talent that we have up front, if you're so invested in all of these first-round draft picks, if you're so invested in Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne and Chase Young and Montez Sweat, then you should be able to find a second or a third-round linebacker and plug him in. A guy that fits. You should be able to find another Cole Holcomb. What was Cole Holcomb? A fifth-round pick out of North Carolina, right? Fifth, right? Don't quote me on that, but I believe Cole Holcomb was a fifth-round pick. You should be able to find another one of those dudes in the draft that can play. You don't have to necessarily spend. Now, look, Ron Rivera was spoiled. In Carolina, he had nothing but first-round draft pick linebackers for the most part. Shaq Thompson, Thomas Davis, I believe. If he wasn't a first-round pick, he was a second-round pick. And, of course, Luke Kuechly. He was spoiled. At this point, I'm like, how about we invest a first-round pick on the offense? Whether it's a tackle or a wide receiver, whatever they deem to be the most important cog right now for this offense. I'm looking at Jamar Chase and I'm like, this dude's a difference maker. An absolute baller. Could you imagine him coming into this offense as a true, unequivocal number one, and then having Terry, who I think is a number one already? You'd be essentially looking at a Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley situation where you got essentially two number ones. You'd be looking at a Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne, two number ones type of situation. It's rare in this league to have that. Usually it's a 1 and a 2. But you would legitimately have two number one wide receivers on your team. That's enticing. I don't care who the quarterback is. That's enticing. It's hard to turn that down. Because if you've got Jamar Chase on one side, Terry McLaurin on the other, or Terry and Jamar on the same side, Terry in the slot, Jamar out wide, that gives Logan Thomas more opportunities. Even if we don't think he's a number one tight end, he's going to get a lot of open field to run around in because teams are going to be so concerned with the receivers at that point. They're not going to be worried about Logan Thomas at all. So it changes things. That's really enticing. It's a lot to think about. But again, we got to understand where this team is and what they are looking to get and how they are evaluating the team, the draft, and their needs. And until we go through free agency and look at what this team does, it's hard to really evaluate what they'll do in the draft. Because again, you could go into the offseason saying, need a linebacker, need a quarterback, need a tight end, need a tackle, need a safety. And we're listing all these positions and we can rank them. But then they could go into free agency and say, got a tight end, got a receiver, and a linebacker, all in free agency. So now your focus in the draft shifts to quarterback, safety, you start tackle, you start looking at other things. Not Jamar Chase, not Michael Parsons. You start looking at other positions then. So it could change drastically just based off of what they do in free agency. And we got a lot of cap. I think they're going to look to re-sign some of their own, but I do think they're going to be out there looking around to see. And who knows, they may go bargain bin shopping again like they did this year. They may go looking for the next J.D. McKissick or Logan Thomas. And I know that wouldn't excite a lot of you, but they're getting a lot of mileage out of those guys. And if they feel like, man, we hit a home run with that last year, let's try it again. Let's see if we can't find a guy that it just needs an opportunity. That might be what they do this offseason. Again, who knows? Alec Meehan, thank you for the super chat. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Alec Meehan, greatly appreciate you. Alec writes, Cincinnati in their last 18 games on the road are 0-17, 0-17, and 1, allowing 2.9 points per drive. So you're telling me there's a chance. Hashtag MOBB. Stand up. We in the building. Yes, I am telling you there's a chance, but I'm also telling you those are the types of numbers that scare me, because usually when a team comes in here with a 0, we're the team that allows them off the hook and allows that 0 to turn into a 1. We're that team. Okay? So in my mind, that number is scary. I don't see us making that 18 and 1, 0, 18 and 1. I could see us allowing that to be 1, 17 and 1. And that's always scary for me when I hear numbers like that. But yes, I am telling you there's a chance this weekend. Absolutely. Got another super chat here from Step Brothers LLC. Thank you for the super chat, Step Brothers LLC, who writes, a couple of weeks ago, I asked who would be a good fit across from Terry in our offense, and you said Cam. You might be right, Louie. Cam has looked good. I just wanted him to get the opportunity. I wasn't the biggest Cam Sims fan. A lot of people, look, there were a lot of you out there, and a couple in particular that I can think of that were massive Cam Sims supporters and just felt like he needed an opportunity. And I wasn't as high on him because in the preseason when he would get opportunities, there would be drop passes, there would be mistakes, and I just said, okay, I don't know if this guy is ready for the opportunity in the moment or not. Maybe the moment's too big for him. He was never a big-time player at Alabama for whatever reason, and it just hasn't manifested itself here. Well, he's been given an opportunity this year via injuries. He's taken advantage of those opportunities. I've been really impressed. And you know what I did? Watching the film, I kept saying to myself over and over again, because of plays that were being made, and I started thinking back to all of the plays that he's made this year. I gave him a nickname, and I didn't do this on purpose. I just kept saying this as I'm watching film, and then I started thinking back to all of the plays he's made this season, and the one word kept coming up, and it's clutch. So anytime you hear me call somebody clutch, I'm talking about Cam Sims. His nickname is Clutch. So if I say, man, Clutch had a hell of a game today, I'm talking about Cam Sims. Because when I think about it, think about the first big catch he had this year. Might have even been his first catch of the season. I think he had one before then. But think about the Giants game in week 6. Biggest play of the game to that point is a Cam Sims touchdown. Last drive of the game offensively. He steps up. Hadn't been in the game really all game long. That's the game AGG got hurt with the hamstring. Got thrusted into the action late. He runs an out and up, a perfectly run out and up. Gets open, makes the big catch in the end zone. Touchdown. Clutch. You look at the game against the Giants the second time, and he had a big catch against Dallas, but it wasn't a clutch catch. It was just a big game for him. You look at the Giants game. 3 catches, 110 yards. They were big catches, especially that first catch in the second half down the sideline that really jump-started the offense. Clutch. This game in particular, though, this man stepped up. Big play after big play after big play, and I thought there was more in there for him. And he's only going to get better. I ragged on him a little bit yesterday because they tried to run a fake slip screen, a fake slot screen, and he was supposed to get behind the corner, and he slams right into Desmond Trufant. And I'm like, come on, Cam, man, what are you doing? They're trying to dial up some heat for you, man. You effing it up. But on a 4th down and 3, Alex Smith predetermines, hey, 89, I'm coming to you, baby. Be ready. On that whip route, I'm coming to you. Mind you, Steven Sims is wide ass open. The most wide open any player was in this game outside of Quintez Cephas against this defense at the end of the game on the Chase Young roughing the passer. If you're talking about strictly our team, Steven Sims is open by 6 yards on a bench route. And I'm like, Alex, what are we doing here, man? Get the ball to Steven Sims. And Alex says, I trust Cam. Fine. You better be right. Cam made him right. Catches the football a yard short of the sticks, runs through that tackle attempt, picks up an additional 11, first down. That was on 4th down. Without that conversion, we're not even close in that game. You know what that is? That's clutch. Alex Smith on the final possession, and I don't think you guys understand this. The final offensive possession of the game for Washington. Remember, I said this on overtime after the game. I said it in the LAB discussion. During the game when we were watching it together, I said, is this not the longest 2-minute drive you've ever seen in your life? I remember making fun of the Patriots on Monday night versus the Jets a couple of weeks ago when that final drive to get in the field goal range to win the game that they went on was, it was just this marathon drive. And I'm like, man, you did all of that for like 50 yards to get in the field goal range, or like 35 yards or whatever. It just seemed like a marathon. But they got it done. Got the game-winning field goal and beat the Jets 30-27. The drive that we went on, 20 plays. 20 plays. That's unheard of. And still, we had to kick like a 41-yard field goal. 45 or whatever it was. Like, usually 20 play drives don't result in 40-plus yard field goals. Even if you don't get in the end zone. You go on a 20-play drive, that field goal you're kicking is like a 31-yard field goal, a 27-yard field goal if you don't get in the end zone. Like you're inside the 10 and you just stalled out for whatever reason. We went on a 20-play drive that included 8 straight incompletions from Alex Smith. We got bailed out by 2 flags on Desmond Trufant on that possession during that 8-play streak of incompletions by Alex Smith. So despite him not completing a pass, we actually moved the football 10 yards. Got a pass interference on Trufant and got a holding penalty on Trufant. Well, not 10 yards. That pass interference was a spot of the foul infraction, and it was like a 7-yard penalty. Whatever. 8 straight incompletions, and I remember typing in the community in MOBB, hey, maybe this moment is getting to Alex like last week against the Giants when he threw the 2 picks. Maybe this moment is starting. He's starting to realize the magnitude of this moment. It's starting to get to him. Because he had been super accurate up until that point, and now he can't hit the backside of a barn. And then, in that moment, as I'm saying that, Alex does just a beautiful job of manipulating the pocket, sidesteps a little bit of pressure. He's backpedaling sideways towards Morgan Moses, away from the pressure of the right side, steps up and throws a dart on 3rd and 10 to Cam Sims. Defender draped all over Cam Sims' back. We need it. Cam Sims comes down with the football. You know what I call that? Clutch. So when you hear me say clutch, I'm talking about Cam Sims. I don't know. I don't think he's a number 2 receiver in this league. I still don't. But I think he'd be a hell of a 3rd option, man. I'd love to see this man blossom as in a role of, hey, Cam, we're not looking for your production as a number 1 or number 2. As a 3rd option, I think he'll tear defenses up. That's what I think he is in this league. So hopefully he'll get a chance to do that. Got another super chat here from Kevin the PRF. Thank you for the super chat, Kevin the PRF. My man Kev writes, nope, I don't want JC, Jamar Chase, for those of you out there, or any wide receiver with a first. Most overrated position in sports. I could rant on overrating wide receiver position like you rant on Nagy. Hey, look, you're absolutely right. You don't have to get a first round wide receiver to have a guy produce for you. We know that to be a fact. But that's any position in this league. You don't have to draft a first round tackle. You don't have to draft a first round running back, quarterback, etc., 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 to have him be successful. That's what good scouting can do, is it can unearth gems that fit in your system, that can do the things that you need this guy to do at that specific position for your football team. That said, you see what Justin Jefferson's doing, right? There's a reason that you draft a guy like that in the first round. Those don't grow on trees. And while I get what you're saying, you look at the receiver position around the league for rookies. Name me a rookie outside of Chase Claypool in Pittsburgh that's having an impact on his team. Tell you what, name me a rookie outside of the first 2 rounds, because T. Higgins is doing some big things for Cincinnati. Chase Claypool is doing some big things for the Steelers. Outside of those two, and Michael Pittman Jr. in Indianapolis, all 3 of those are second-round picks. And I'm not saying that other guys won't develop, like the Minnesota kid in Tampa, who we had a chance to draft, but we didn't. I'm not saying other guys won't develop that were drafted in later rounds. Mooney in Chicago has had a solid season as I think a 5th or 6th round pick out of Tulane. But seriously, when you get tremendous production at receiver, it usually it's the guys that you get in the first round. When we start talking about big time receivers in this league, and I get it, Terry is a 3rd round pick, and you're like, look, we got Terry McLaurin. Yeah, he's not the standard. Like, he's an exception to the rule. You don't draft a 3rd round receiver and expect results like that. We got it right. But you can get it wrong in the first round too. Duh. We drafted Josh Doxson. So you can look at it both ways. At the end of the day, when we talk about the best receivers in the league, most of the guys on that list, if we make a top 10 list of the best receivers in football, most of those guys are first round picks. Let's be honest with ourselves. You got a guy like Allen Robinson that's going to probably be on that list. Not a first round pick. I think he was a 2nd round pick in Jacksonville. But there aren't going to be many guys on that list that aren't first round picks. You know, DeAndre Hopkins, Michael Thomas is a 2nd round pick, I believe. But again, most of those guys on the list, 2nd round pick. So I hear what you're saying. I totally get it. And you can unearth gems at any position, anywhere in the draft. I'm not opposed to taking a receiver. I'm not. But if you told me, hey, we can find a receiver later on in the draft, I'll tell you, yeah, you damn right you can. You sure can. So we'll see what they decide to do. Let me say this and we'll move on. You are more likely to find a gem at receiver in the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round than you are a gem at linebacker or tackle or quarterback or whatever other position you can think of that this team needs desperately. You are more likely to unearth a gem at receiver than you are at any of those positions. So take it for what it's worth. All right. So I pretty much said everything that I need to say. We heard from the coaching staff and Alex Smith. Nothing of note. I really enjoyed listening to offensive coordinator Scott Turner, because I was waiting for him to acknowledge that reverse was a bad play call. He started to acknowledge it, and then he kind of was like, the guy made a good play. Like, he didn't really want to own up to, no, dude, just be like, yeah, if I could have had that one back, I would have. You know, he was trending towards saying that, and then he just, hey, the defensive end made a good play. No, That was not. He said I rolled the dice. That tells you that he knows that that was a risky proposition. I would have liked him to have said, hey, I rolled the dice. If I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't have done that. But he's like, nah, I rolled the dice. Guy made a good play. It is what it is. Okay. I mean, I'm not going to kill you for it. It happened. But he was talking about, that first drive, and because, it's becoming a story now. We're the only team in the league that hasn't scored on an opening possession of the game. We're the only team. Field goal, touchdown, nothing. No points. And we've done it in a variety of ways. 4th and 1 from the 6-inch line, can't get in. Missed field goals. At the Lions 13, 11-yard reverse for a loss, 13-yard sack for a loss, out of field goal range. At the end of the day, he says, look, we moved the football on offense. We just didn't finish. And he talked about the balance or lack thereof. And he's like, hey, look, I didn't even, and I take him at face value when he says this. I wasn't even paying attention. He's like, I wasn't even paying attention to the, the lack of balance or whatever, because I'm just calling plays that in the rhythm of the game that are working. Things that we've done that we see that we can take advantage of. I think you go in these are the play callers that I like. Guys that go into the game and they morph into whatever they need to be for that week. That's why the Patriots have been so good for so many years. Because Josh McDaniels morphs that offense into whatever they need to be for that week. This defense can't stop the run. Well, you're going to get a heavy dose of run this week. This defense can't stop the pass. Well, we're going to spread you out. Brady's going to throw it 56 times. Good luck. You're going to need it. I don't think you can go into a game and just say, hey, this is what we do. You got to stop it. Because if what you do is what the other team is good at stopping, then you're screwed. That's why I think the Rams are so hit or miss. Because Sean McVay doesn't change what he does every week. He does the same shit. He just varies in tempo. He varies in how he gets to it. But it's the same shit. Same run, play action fake, stretch, zone, bootleg off of it. It's the same shit. May call a little bit more screens this week if you're an aggressive defense. But it's the same shit. And that's why 1 week, Sean McVay offense will score 10 points and they look anemic because that team had them figured out. And the next week, the other team couldn't stop the bootleg and they scored 31. But it looks the same every goddamn week. There's really no variance in what they do. This is what you're getting. Can you stop it? And if you can execute at a high level doing that, tip my cap to you. But for the rest of the league, you morph into what you need to be that week. We see the Chiefs do it this year where, okay, you want to play 2 safeties deep. You don't want to give up any big plays to Tyreek Hill, Sammy Watkins, Mecole Hardman. Okay, fine, whatever. We'll just run. If you're going to give us these light-ass boxes, we'll just run Clyde Edwards-Helaire 27 times for 136 yards. Knock yourself out. We're going to find a way to win and execute offensively, though. And I think that's what Scott Turner's doing right now. Is, one, we're falling behind. That's never a good thing. So you get into this mindset where we got to throw the football to get ourselves back into the game. But at the same time, the pass is working. It worked against the Giants. It was working against the Lions. If it's not broken, don't fix it. So there's that. Anyway, not really much to gather from the pressers today. Ron did say that Dustin Hopkins going to be back. And Ron did that thing where he essentially said, hey, I didn't say anything about Dustin not being a kicker and that we were going to move him and look to move on from him. I'm like, hey, Ron, you did say you were considering all options at the kicking position. You did say that. Ron got a real attitude today when they asked him about potentially replacing Dustin. Like, hey, dude, they're just asking you a question based off of what you told them. If you don't want them to ask questions, if you want to put the Dustin stuff to rest, just say, hey, just like you did the week prior, Dustin's our guy. We're moving forward with him, and we'll see how it goes. That'll kill all the Dustin noise. If you don't want the Dustin noise, that's what you say. When you say we're considering all options at the kicking position, well, guess what they're thinking? Yeah, they're going to try out some kickers this week. Maybe Kare Vedvik is going to get an opportunity this week. Now they're thinking you're going to do something. You want to put it to bed? Put it to bed. Don't leave the door open because now they're going to come in. You want them to stay out? Lock the damn door. Don't leave the door open and then get mad when they come over and they knock on the door and they open it up. Hey, Ron. And you're like, I didn't want any distractions. Well, you left the door open, Ron, and you didn't put the do not disturb sign on the door. So, at the end of the day, Dustin Hopkins looks like he's going to be the kicker moving forward. Don't know what they're going to do at tackle this week. Obviously, it's Wednesday. If you're going to sit out a day of practice, it's Wednesday. So, no Jaron Christian, no Cornelius Lucas today. Tomorrow will be the day. Thursday, we'll see who practices. If DeShazer can't go, God help us all. Troy Apke will be back there. That's a scary proposition. But we'll see what the hell happens. At the end of the day, I'm not looking forward to it. Because I don't think DeShazer's going to play this week. I think DeShazer's going to be out. But we'll see what they do at tackle. We'll see what they do at safety. We'll see what happens. Practice will be really big to watch as to who practices, who doesn't. But that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on the Washington Football Nightly live program this week. I thank you guys for joining me. Look forward to chopping it up with you in the future. If you haven't already done so, what are you waiting on? Subscribe to the Louie T Network for more great content. Turn on the notification bell so you don't miss a thing. Go ahead and hit that like button before you get out of here. All right. Really appreciate you guys. This is going to be an interesting game. We're going to turn our attention to the Bengals tomorrow. Start looking at the injury report for both teams. Start really jumping into this thing. It's the number 1 overall pick versus the number 2 overall pick in the draft. So there's going to be a little bit made of that. We'll see what happens. Got another super chat here from Bolivian Los. What's going on, Los? My guy. Who writes, we've seen Alex versus the Lions, but also versus the Rams. I agree. He can have a hot hand, but once the line collapses, I hold my breath. Injuries equal PTSD. Maybe he can. I've said the same thing. You know, I just don't think that he can sustain what he's doing if he's not protected. Now, there were signs of him using his legs versus the Lions. You can tell he's gaining more confidence as the weeks progress. The more he plays, the less he's thinking about his leg, the more he's thinking about making plays. I think the more that he gets out of the pocket and is extending, he's not going to be running to run. He's going to be running to extend the play to throw outside the pocket. I think we're seeing a little bit of that too. I don't think he'll ever be the athlete that he once was. And he's getting older. It's not like, he's 23 years old and we're like, man, I don't think he's ever going to be the athlete that he was. The man's 36 years old. So he already was going to lose some of that quickness and speed and things of that nature already. Add to the fact that he had the gruesome injury a couple of years ago, and it sped up the process essentially. So at the end of the day, I look at Alex. I see progress being made. I'm pleased with what I've seen and also surprised because I didn't think this was possible. But now I'm like, do it again. He does it again against Cincinnati, and I know their defense isn't, great. I don't care. Because even against defenses that weren't great the first time around in 2018, he wasn't lighting it up. He was mediocre against bad defenses in 2018, but he did enough to help us win. Now he's tearing it up. Okay. If you do it again, now I'm starting to believe it's the offense. It was the offense in 2018, and you're a lot more comfortable in this offense in 2020 with Scott Turner. And during the film breakdown, I'll talk about this numerous times. If we could just get Alex to use his legs to extend plays, we got something. If Alex is a sitting duck once pressure is applied, it's going to be hard because, again, the better defenses aren't going to just sit back. Like the Lions were okay just rushing 4 and at times rushing 3. They weren't really coming after Alex. If I'm watching Alex Smith and I don't think he can get away, I'm coming after him. I'm going to make Alex Smith make faster decisions, which he doesn't like to be sped up, and I'm going to make him prove that he can beat the blitz. I'm going to come after him. And until he proves he can either beat the blitz with his arm or escape it with his legs and extend, I think you still have that kind of hanging over your head. So we'll see what happens. But in any event, I'm going to get out of here. Really appreciate you guys. Look forward to chopping it up with you. We'll have the podcast tomorrow. I got a lot to say tomorrow because there's a reason we didn't have the podcast today. So lot to talk about tomorrow. We'll turn our attention to Cincinnati. So I look forward to doing that tomorrow as well. This is a winnable game. Are we going to win it? I don't know. But this is a winnable game. I'll just say that. You guys have a good night. Take care of yourselves. I'm your man, Louie T. This has been Washington Football Nightly live. I'll see you next time. Have a good one.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap. Hand to Riggins. Good hole. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35, the 30, the 20.